Welcome to Wealthfinity, your go-to channel for all things related to personal finance and wealth management. In today's video, we will be discussing an important topic that is relevant to both novice and experienced investors: inflation year over year. As an investor, it is crucial to understand the impact of inflation on your investments and overall financial well-being. In this video, we will guide you through the basics of inflation, its causes, and its effects on your investments, and we will also provide you with some tips on how to become an inflation year-over-year expert. So sit back, grab a pen and paper, and get ready to take some notes on this essential financial topic. Let's get started. Inflation can be defined as the rate at which prices of goods and services increase over a period of time. It is one of the most important economic indicators that determines the purchasing power of consumers and the health of an economy. Year-over-year inflation, YOY, is a measure of the change in the inflation rate over a 12-month period. Understanding YOY inflation and its impact on your wealth is crucial for making informed financial decisions. What is inflation? Inflation is the rate at which the general price level of goods and services increases over time. In other words, it is the reduction in the purchasing power of your money over time. When inflation occurs, the same amount of money can buy fewer goods and services than it could previously. This can have a significant impact on your finances, as your savings and investments may not grow at the same rate as inflation, meaning you are losing money in real terms. What causes inflation? Inflation can be caused by several factors, including an increase in the money supply, rising demand for goods and services, and a decrease in the supply of goods and services. When there is too much money in circulation chasing too few goods, prices increase. Similarly, if there is an increase in demand for goods and services, prices go up. On the other hand, if the supply of goods and services decreases, prices will rise. How is inflation measured? The most common measure of inflation is the Consumer Price Index, CPI. The CPI is a basket of goods and services that represent the average consumer's expenditure. The basket includes items such as food, housing, transportation, and healthcare. The CPI is calculated by taking the price of the basket of goods and services in a given period and comparing it to the price of the same basket of goods and services in a previous period. Year-over-year changes in inflation. One way to measure inflation is to look at year-over-year changes in the Consumer Price Index, CPI. The CPI is a measure of the average price level of a basket of goods and services consumed by households. It is widely used to track inflation in many countries, including the United States. Year-over-year changes in the CPI compare the current CPI to the CPI from the same month in the previous year. For example, if the CPI in January 2022 was 4.0% higher than the CPI in January 2021, this would represent a year-over-year change of 4.0%. Understanding year-over-year changes in inflation can be helpful in several ways. Firstly, it can give you an indication of the overall inflation trend. If the year-over-year change in the CPI is consistently increasing, this may indicate that inflation is on the rise. Conversely, if the year-over-year change is consistently decreasing, this may indicate that inflation is slowing down. Secondly, year-over-year changes can help you understand how inflation is affecting specific goods and services. For example, if the year-over-year change in the CPI for housing is much higher than the overall CPI, this may indicate that housing prices are rising at a faster rate than other goods and services. Finally, year-over-year changes in inflation can be used to adjust your investment and saving strategies. If inflation is on the rise, you may need to adjust your investments to ensure they are keeping pace with inflation. Alternatively, if inflation is decreasing, you may be able to adjust your saving strategies to take advantage of higher real returns. Why is YOY inflation important? YOY inflation is important because it helps to measure the rate of change in prices over a longer period of time. It is more stable than month-over-month inflation, which can be volatile and influenced by seasonal factors. YOY inflation is also important because it helps policymakers and investors make informed decisions. For example, if the YOY inflation rate is high, policymakers may increase interest rates to reduce spending and slow down inflation. On the other hand, if the YOY inflation rate is low, policymakers may lower interest rates to stimulate spending and boost economic growth. How does YOY inflation impact your wealth? Inflation can have a significant impact on your wealth. If the inflation rate is higher than the rate of return on your investments, you may lose purchasing power. For example, If you have a savings account that earns 1% interest per year and the inflation rate is 2%, your savings will lose value over time. This is because the cost of goods and services will increase faster than the value of your savings. On the other hand, if the rate of return on your investments is higher than the inflation rate, you can increase your purchasing power. Understanding inflation and how it can affect your finances is essential. Year-over-year changes in the CPI can help you understand the overall inflation trend, how specific goods and services are affected by inflation, and adjust your investment and saving strategies accordingly. By keeping an eye on year-over-year changes in inflation, you can stay informed and make informed financial decisions that can help protect your purchasing power and grow your wealth over time. In conclusion, becoming an expert in understanding and analyzing inflation year over year requires consistent effort and a strong foundation in economics. It is important to stay up to date with current events and economic trends, while also utilizing historical data to identify patterns and make informed predictions about future inflation rates. By staying informed, practicing critical thinking, and utilizing reliable sources, anyone can become a knowledgeable and confident inflation expert. Remember to always approach the topic with an open mind and a willingness to learn and adapt as new information emerges. With dedication and persistence, you can become an inflation year-over-year expert and contribute to informed discussions and decision-making in the field of economics.